My name is Henry Devereux, and I started as a program specialist way back in 2004. And I served as program specialist from 2004 until the first week of January 2018. There are a number of great memories that I had throughout the years with staff and working with patrons, but probably my favorite memory, and I bring this thing up quite often, particularly in my last job. And I don't know if Melody made you aware, but when I left Lake Park, I went to Columbia, South Carolina, and I was working for the Richland County Recreation Commission. I am now in Trussville, Alabama, and I guess what they call now micro-retired until I find something. But when I was with the Richland County Recreation Commission, I would always bring this story up. When I first started, it was really, really laid back. We were, I don't want to say we were more of a family, but it was a sort of a different atmosphere. The people when I started, everybody else that worked at the facility had been there for at least 25 years. And, here I am, I'm new, I'm just stepping in, and all these guys have all these years and years and years of experience. I guess we always face challenges throughout our work careers or work lives. But for me, the most significant challenge that I thought that we as a staff faced when I was there was when we had a staff member pass away, Ms. Irie Pope. It was sudden, unexpected, and we all had a difficult time dealing with that. She had been there for more than 30 years. I had not been there that long, but I got there long enough to get to know her, and as I said earlier, we were all like family, so that was a challenging and difficult time, but we were able to get through it. Her family would constantly come by and continue to visit us, so that was cool. Probably the most impactful person for me was Willie Hull. He was a supervisor when I got there, facility supervisor when I got there, and the biggest thing that he taught me was patience. I've always been pretty good at dealing with kids because of my background with the Boys and Girls Club. But once I started working closely with him, and saw how he interacted with the kids and how much patience he showed to the kids, and he was probably one person that I can consider a significant impact in how I handle things particularly with kids. The patience that he showed, the one thing that he taught me was to make sure that I listened to the kids. A lot of times when there's something going on with kids, we always tend to think that we know exactly what they need, and sometimes we don't stop to listen to what their issue is. And that's a lot of times kids will tune you out if you don't listen to them. If they know you're not listening, then they won't trust you. And I found that just by listening carefully and allowing them to give feedback, that's very important, and you're able to establish that two-way communication with them. Also, I think Randy Haygood was a significant impact for me. Randy was the type of person that he did everything by the book. He was almost had military precision. And he was also one of those guys that no matter what the task was, we were going to find a way to do it. Randy and I used to, together, just the two of us, put together a whole haunted house in the gym. We'd build walls and bring in power tools and all that kind of stuff. It would take us sometimes 3 days to set up for Halloween, and I hated it. I hated it because it was so much work for such a short period of time. But Randy, he loved Halloween. No matter what it took, we were going to make sure that we got it done. So that's what I take away from him. Actually, I came from the Athens Housing Authority, but prior to that, I worked for the Boys and Girls Club. And every day after school, when the kids got there, the first thing they had to do was go to the library and work on their homework. So that's kind of the background that I came from. When I first started at Lake Park, when the kids got there from after school, they immediately went in the gym, started playing. And so I talked with Mr. Hull and I said, hey, we need to do something about it. We need to help them out because we know a lot of those kids weren't doing homework. My kids at the time were young. They were in elementary and high school. And I knew that they had homework every day. So these kids, I'm sure they had homework. So we wanted to make sure that we had an impact and help them out with that. So started a loosely based after school program. It was myself, Ms. Pope, Wayne Fairfax, and I think we had a couple of volunteers from the University of Georgia come by and help us out, but it was overwhelming because as I said earlier, we made it mandatory for once you walk in the door, you have to do homework. A parent came in that lived in Bethel Midtown Village, and she was telling me, or she told me that there is a group of students from UGA that came every day to Bethel Midtown Village to do like after school work. But the problem was that the only kids that they were getting were, very young kids that, were either in like preschool or kindergarten and didn't really have any homework. And once I found that out, I'm like, well, let's go over there because we got all the kids over here. Let's see if we can create a partnership. And so I went over and talked with one of the mentors at the time, and we agreed to bring their program to us. And that's how the after school program, the Thomas Way after school program got started. It used a typical day would mean that, we'd come in, sit down and figure out what we had to do for that day. A lot of times we would have visitors come in, people that had been coming to the facility for years and years and years. They would constantly stop by and talk with the staff, and that was a lot of fun. For me, we would come in sometimes at either early in the morning or at 1 o'clock. We'd have after school. The after school program would start at about 3 o'clock. Power through that, and then after that, we had free plays. It's evolved quite a bit, mostly cosmetically, I guess. But when I first started, there was not a computer lab. And I was able to coordinate the donation of computers from the University of Georgia's Panhellenic Council. And so I guess it's quite different now. So it's even evolved from that. But we were able to purchase a bunch of workstations and computers that had not been there prior to my coming. Also, and this change happened after I left. You guys have that wonderful gym floor with the logo on it. Didn't have that before, and we didn't have pickleball when I first started. So those are probably some of the main changes. You guys have painted the building now, so it looks a lot different. Before I started, I'm sure Mr. Benny has already told you, but they didn't have there was not an elevator in the building. But by the time I got there, there was, and the third floor was changed dramatically. But those are probably the main things that have changed since I started. I think it's had a tremendous impact on the community. It was a safe haven for those kids that lived in the Bethel Midtown Village. While I was there, we had tons of kids that came from the neighborhood. It was an opportunity for them to come to a safe space, enjoy themselves, get a little structure at the same time. Had a young man who was a UGA student. He was a mentor. He started off as just a volunteer mentor. But over the course of his time there, he eventually became a head mentor, and he was a part of the leadership group. He originally came, his goal at UGA was to go to med school, but he realized through working with the kids in our after-school program that he wanted to do something in education. So that is exactly what he's doing now. But he changed his career goals because of the impact that our after-school program had on him. One time during summer camp, I had two brothers who constantly were acting out. We would talk to them time and time again. We'd bring them in the office, and finally got to the point where we had to call Dad. Well, as soon as Dad walked in, he saw me. I saw him. I had not seen him. I had not seen him drop the kids off, so I really didn't know who their dad was. But immediately, as soon as I saw him and he saw me, we recognized each other. He was in my summer camp group when I worked for the Boys and Girls Club in the early '80s. And then he walked into the room and he looked at both of his sons and he said, "Stop! Don't say a word, because whatever Mr. Henry says, I know it's true because I know Mr. Henry." And that gave me a sense of fulfillment. It just let me know that people trust me, and that I've made a difference in somebody's life at some point in time. And after that, we didn't have any more problems with those kids. And both of those boys, I think they ended up going to Athens Christian. They were outstanding football players, and I'm sure they're playing in college somewhere now. Like I said, there's so many that it's really hard to pick and choose, but that's one that stands out in my mind. Always be truthful to the kids. And I know you guys get mostly kids there, and that's the way it was when I was there. Don't promise something and then not follow through with it, because that's a quick way to lose trust. Kelly's been there long enough now that I know he knows how to handle things. Yeah, but if any new staff were to come in, that's probably the biggest piece of advice that I would give them. Be honest, be upfront, and be welcoming. Always be welcoming. Try to be as open a book for your patrons as you possibly can. Personally and professionally, I think working there gave me a greater sense of purpose, actually. And also, as I mentioned earlier, it taught me patience. I've always been a fairly patient person, but I always expected things to happen at a certain time. If something is supposed to happen at this time, then I expect it to happen at that time. And a lot of times we can't dictate how things work. So you have to exercise patience, and I learned that from Mr. Hull. Central Athens, that's been a home for people in the community for almost 50 years now. People have grown up in Lake Park. The people that have grown up in Lake Park now have kids and grandkids that come to Lake Park. So just being a welcoming place for people, being a safe place for people, being a place where people can go and know that they can participate in fun activities, meet with friends and family, and that's probably the most important part, or most important legacy of Lake Park, being an open, welcoming, safe place for the community.